My name's Karen from Virtual Excursions Australia, and I am here with Ben today for the Virtual Excursions Australia conference. Hello, Ben.
Hi there, how you doing?
So we've got a really good program of things today. We're just going to wait for more people to be coming in. And while that's happening, I'll just give you a bit of a rundown of what we'll be doing before we get started. So Ben and I will just have a little bit of a chat about some of the highlights and how we've been able to achieve those things in 2019. Oh, I wish 2021. And then we've got our first of our international speakers, Zanetis from CILC, followed by Seth from Banyan Learning, and our local expert on everything virtual excursions, Bonnie Tratt from Dart Connections. Well, depending on time, we'll have a little bit of a break so you can have a cup of tea and have a stretch, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about what we're thinking about from those sessions for 2022, and then we'll have a few breakout rooms on engagement online, technology and different collaborations, and have a bit of a wrap up. So hopefully everyone will get something out of the sessions today, and we're really looking forward to the program. So how are we going? We might just wait a few more minutes to see how we go, and just want to start off today as well acknowledging the traditional owners of the land from which we all come today. At digital conferencing, we are pretty much all over the East Coast. And I think we've got a few South Australia, a few international participants as well. So it really is important to think about where we're coming from and to pay respects to the traditional owners, past, present and emerging leaders, and acknowledge anyone with Indigenous background that's with us here today. So thank you, everyone, and we're looking forward to a great day today. Ben, do you want to have a chat for a few minutes while we're waiting for a few more people to come through as well?
100%. So, look, thank you very much for everyone joining this particular conference. So I know as people dribble on in, some of us in this room have definitely been involved with Virtual Excursions Australia for many, many years. If this is your first time with Virtual Excursions Australia, this has been going on for a bit over a decade. This started off in North Queensland as a bit of an idea after a conference of various different remote education providers saying, you know what, it'd be really nice if there was some place where we could hang out and talk best practice to do virtual learning in some way, shape or form. And with monthly meetings over and over again for many, many years, this has now come together as a formalised nonprofit. And together we've been able to make some really cool stuff happen. And I know, Karen, that you've definitely created a bit of a highlights reel. Well, no, not a reel. We're not going to watch a video. But literally, like the actual, the data of what we achieved this particular year and what we're hoping to do potentially next year.
Excellent. Well, I can see that we've got, well over sort of 2/3 of the participants here already. So to keep things going, we will get started. And following up from Ben, we've had a really amazing year. It's been a challenging year for everyone, or the last 2 years really. And digital learning has definitely come out as a winner, really, of the last 2 years. Now, Ben and I have been, and a lot of you here will know that, have been really promoting online learning, virtual excursions for, well over a decade. And a lot of us that have been doing that for quite some time have been able to see the big changes over the last few years. And some of those is a change from physical hardware that people needed, both the providers like us and the schools at the other end, and to be able to have that transition to sort of, a plug and play camera has really made a difference and made it a lot more accessible for many, many people, especially with students learning from home. So I'll just share my screen for a moment. We'll have a look at some of the highlights that we've seen in this year. So in terms of a bit more of the technological back-end side, the Virtual Excursions Australia website has, almost broke a couple of times this year. We had over 16,000 website visits, 25,000 YouTube views, 1,400 social media followers, and 250 new subscribers to the newsletter. So that's teachers that are then getting, up-to-date information about the events that we're having coming up. And, 94 organisational collaborations. So that's working with a lot of the participants that are here today and other organisations across Australia and internationally to put on some of these events. And those events, we've been able to reach 83,000 students. We've had 1,450 registrations for these different programs, and 50 programs over 6 main events that we've pushed in 2021. So it's been an amazing year, and to see some of those numbers, we may never see those kinds of numbers again. So that's something to really be aware of coming into 2022. That term 3 this year, with at one point all of New South Wales learning from home, ACT, a large portion of Victoria, all the students were learning from home instead of in the classroom. So it completely changed the way teachers were looking for programs and the way that we were delivering programs as well. So it's great to see that. And Bonnie, I know, will be giving some insight into some of those students. But some of the information that was coming out is that, 90% of those teachers that were using virtual excursions and were participating in the events that we were putting on are new users. So one of the things that's come out of this year is so many more people are becoming users of that sort of digital virtual excursions infrastructure, and mostly things went really well and very smoothly, and that's a win. That means teachers, homeschool groups and organisations delivering programs are more likely to want to continue in 2022. So really, we've just created such a great momentum this year, and we're looking forward to being able to see that grow in 2022. And it may not be those same kinds of student numbers, but if we can still have some of those great engagements across both, metropolitan and remote areas throughout Australia, it will be great. So really want to say a thank you to everyone that's been involved. As I said, 94 organisations. So just a big thank you to everyone that's been involved. It's definitely been probably one of the best collaborations I've seen, and I've been doing a lot of different programs and networking over the years, but to see so many people be involved, get trained up and upskilling their staff to be part of Virtual Excursions and Virtual Excursions Australia this year, a big thank you to everyone. And I'm just going to throw over to Ben now, because there's a real reason we're able to do a lot more this year, and that was due to some funding that Ben was able to secure for us. So I'll let Ben talk about that and before we go into our first speakers. Thanks, Ben.
No worries. Really briefly, a lot of what we achieved last year, this year, last year, I'm talking in past present, but not there yet, was really in thanks to the AMP Foundation. So some of you may be aware AMP runs a completely separate situation to the AMP itself, whereby they run the Tomorrow Makers program. And so I was lucky enough to be selected as part of the Tomorrow Makers cohort. And so that particular funding actually allowed for a lot of the things that we did. So what Virtual Excursions Australia has been able to do is not just create events for the sake of it. We're able to actually pay the providers to be able to secure their educators and their virtual excursions rooms. Also to be able to buy some of the digital infrastructure. So the webinar rooms, the Zoom webinar room at a large size one, the Kahoot that some of us use to be able to do some of that live engagement, definitely the case. And so what we're looking to do is take those numbers that we produced this year and go out again and make it happen. So that's definitely, so really big ups definitely the AMP Foundation. And if anyone's sort of wondering what on earth am I talking about, just Google on the side, just type in AMP Tomorrow Makers. The most recent ones only just got announced last week. There's a bit over 20 of them. So every year. And so it is available for all Australians to apply for. But certainly we're able to basically use that funds and put this straight into this community. And that's what it's all about, Karen.
Thanks, Ben. And it is one of those things that is really helpful. The more programs that we can run for free, the more capacity building that we can have as well. So it is, quite significant. And we are Ben and I are constantly grant writing and looking for other opportunities to be able to help fund Virtual Excursions Australia, to be able to deliver more programs. And we certainly have, worked with Dart Learning really closely over the last, 12 months and beyond, of course. And for those of you that Bonnie will talk later, but if you haven't had a look at some of those programs and just to see the amazing variety of content providers and the amazing variety of programs available. So if you're in an organisation that hasn't dipped their toe into the virtual excursions arena, that is definitely a great place to start. And I know that our first speaker is just arrived. So I'll throw back over to Ben and you can introduce Jan and we'll start off with our speaker program. Lots more conversations to have, and there will be lots of opportunities for you to ask questions to our speakers and also to have in the breakout rooms to have some discussions as well. So don't worry, we want to hear what you have to say as well, and we'll have lots of chances to do that as well. So thank you, and I'll pass back over to Ben.
No worries. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. Yes, I know in these sort of conferences, you might see someone in the gallery and you go, you know what, I want to send them a quick message. So, yes, we are unlocking that chat so that you can send those things. We're all adults. I mean, from a child protection point of view, we would never do that, but we're all adults here. So as long as we play nice, we all can do that. So definitely just putting that out there. Now, I am so very happy to introduce a very good friend of mine, Jan Zanetis, who is joining us all the way from the States. Some of you might know Jan Zanetis from when she was here in Australia on behalf of Cisco, doing some really cool stuff throughout Australia. But Jan is the Managing Director of Centre for Interactive Learning and Collaboration, the cilc.org, and they are heavily involved in well, you're going to find out, aren't you? But seriously, Jan knows a lot of stuff. And hi, Jan. Lovely to have you here.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for taking me away from our Thanksgiving Day preparations.
How's that going?
Yeah, I'm sweating. So good to see some of you I haven't seen in a long time, like Holly and Bonnie. Wow. I used to attend the VEA meetings back in the day when I was there about 8 years ago. And I got ideas from it. So when I came back to the States to take over CILC, we started our own version of the VEA, and Ben was instrumental in building the Pinnacle Education Collaborative, which I got stuck on the very end of my presentation. Let me go ahead and share my screen so that I can stay on track. So thumbs up if you can see that.
Can do. Just hit present and we're right to go.
All right. And hey, Karen. So who is CILC? We've been around 27 years. It's hard to believe. All those years as a nonprofit, and we still survived. We connect students to global resources and experts just like you guys. We also connect students to each other in our collaboration space. When COVID hit, we started something called the Community of Learning, which is free programming every day for those kiddos that are learning from home mainly. Now we're starting to get some classes in that, but that's done as a live streamed webinar platform, very successful. And like I said, the last thing I might mention is our PEC, the Pinnacle Education Collaborative. So just a little bit about CILC. We've got roughly 1,900 content programs. Those are the ones like you do that are point to point, one provider and one classroom. We're starting to get more multi-classrooms, but that's okay too. After the pandemic, our content providers, which there's 200 of them, can do anything. They can use any platform and they can connect any amount of students, no matter where they are. So, the pandemic has helped us to become more flexible. Our collaboration space is basically a place where educators can go and join projects or post their projects so that other teachers and their groups of students can meet up with them to do a collaboration. And I'll talk about that a little more. We have a professional learning network sponsored by Cisco, in which you can earn a badge for being a virtual field trip provider. A virtual excursion provider. or a teacher using video, whatever. And then I'll also show you the community of learning, which is also expanded to a makerspace these days. So here's some photos of some programs going on. This one is from Canada, the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology. This one, many of you might have met my friend at the Alaska Sea Life Center, Darren. I mean, he's got a great time zone to partner up with Australians. So I think the I in CILC means interactive, but I also think it means international. So you can see that we have members in most every country in the world. Some of our providers are from Canada, the Middle East, Australia, Africa. So we do get around a little bit. The biggest thing that educators do when they come to our site is look for a program. So this is just one I drummed up for you, dinosaurs, 4th grade, and you hit enter, and then here comes all these amazing programs about dinosaurs. And you can see that they have stars and thumbs up based on evaluations from educators, which that's a huge thing at CILC is you don't book a program usually not knowing if it's any good, because we've got all kinds of checks to make sure that it's good, like those evaluations and our Pinnacle award, et cetera. Once you found the program, you get a flyer with all the details, more than you ever really needed to know about the program, from the grade level to the cost, if there is one, number of evaluations, grade levels, et cetera. So jump base to collaborations, which I define as a group of kids connected to a group of kids to do something around an area that's mutually in both of their curriculums. So it can be something big like Read Around the Planet, which lasts for a whole week, where kids are paired up with each other across the globe to do reading projects. Or it could be a simple one-off collaboration, like let's talk about the plants in our area and compare them to the plants in your area. So these are some of the kinds of projects that the teachers get up to. And then let's talk real quickly about our community of learning. This was done as a solution to all the kids being out of school last March. We had our content providers providing free programming every day, all day long for the first 30 days of the pandemic. And we had thousands of people signing up. This is when our membership sort of did a flip from teachers in a classroom to parents in a homeschooling environment. And I know that some of that is still going on in Australia as well as here. So we have a continued need to keep doing these programs. Luckily, we did get some sponsorship from the United States Distance Learning Association, Viopta, and Cisco, so that we can pay our content providers a little bit to do these. Both Ben and Karen have been great and popular providers in that. And in the last few months, we have gotten some money to build a makerspace. So what I mean by that is there's a place on the website connected to the community of learning, but a lot of the programs in the community of learning will have additional curriculum materials for the teacher to use before or after their live webinar. There's about 40 of these so far. I couldn't get them all on here, but a lot of student examples of things that they've made. It's kind of a fun thing. Every Tuesday, we do a maker activity with our community of learning. So finally, I'm going to wrap up with the Pinnacle group. So after I learned about VEA and Ben came over for our Isti conference, we decided we were going to have our own little VEA, and the content providers there decided to call it the Pinnacle Education Collaborative. We give out an award every year called the Pinnacle Award, and that's where that came from. But along the same lines as you guys, we do festivals, although we only do 2 a year. We do one in the spring and one in the fall. We have thousands of students join in for these. They're usually all day long with one or more tracks of programming. And also that's done as a webinar type platform. But the real power of tech is the getting together of all those content providers. And we meet once a month. And every month we have a different area of professional development, usually delivered by one or more of those very same tech champions. So, one day we might have studio tours where we look at the studios of 2 or 3 of our content providers. Or another time we might talk about what are the tips and tricks for engaging your audience? And, 3, 4, 5 different content providers speak to that topic. I have had content providers say the reason that they are really stuck on CILC is because no other organization provides that professional development and camaraderie that they have with their fellow content providers. Sure, some of them are competitors, but that's okay. We forget about that when we have our PEC meeting. Everybody's pals. We do a warm-up activity, talk about burning issues, and then get down into the meat of our professional development. So once a month, we have those PEC meetings. And then once a year, we have a content provider gathering that's live in person. That's usually coordinated with the Isti conference at the end of June. So our next one is going to be in New Orleans next June, and it's going to be face-to-face. I'd love to invite you all to come. I'm going to be having a couple of nice retirement parties, so I want to see you there. So that's the content provider gathering. Sometimes we do those virtually mid-year just because people love doing that stuff. Our content providers enjoy each other's company just like you guys do. So that's PEC, and that's really all I wanted to share with you today. I left about 10 minutes now so that we could have some question time, maybe a little discussion. I know I've got Seth coming up behind me, and he's one of our content providers, and you'll love his ideas. We do programs with him all the time where he's got different people all around the world, and the hardest thing is, keeping up with which one is going to talk next so I can spotlight them. So what questions do you have for me? I know I'm supposed to talk about North America, but really all I know about is CILC. There are some competitors now, such as Field Trip Zoom and Streamable Learning. Those are for-profit companies, and check them out if you're interested. So what questions or comments do you have for me?
I thought while people think about what they might ask, and please do, guys, absolutely. Jan, you mentioned Isti a couple of times. I know exactly what you're talking about. But especially considering that you have stepped down as a board member, you do know Isti quite intimately. Can you let people know what Isti is all about?
Sure. So that stands for the International Society for Technology and Education. It's a mouthful. Been around for 40 years. It is the biggest ed tech show, I would say, in the world. I don't think that is any bigger. It is way so much stuff. You can hardly get through all the vendor booths in a day. So, the conference lasts 3 to 4 days, and there's just lots of great presentations, great keynotes. But Isti is an all year round kind of organization where you can get professional development. You can get Isti certified. There's all kinds of regional get-togethers. They have a bunch of books if you're interested. I have 2 books in the Isti catalog. So if you're interested in attending the biggest and best ed tech show in the world, go to New Orleans in June. Or just check it out, isti.org. It's also a nonprofit.
Yeah, I must say, having been there a few times since 2014, it's rather wild. So at least 20,000 people all descend on a particular city, and it's vibrant. And I must say, it's pretty much 24 hours a day for 4 days straight. It's pretty full on. Not necessarily the formal stuff. The formal stuff concludes roughly, just a bit after dinner time. But after that, what it's like with these conferences, they go into the evening and then some. But definitely. So we've got a question from Adrian Warner. What content providers would be easy to work with without time zone?
So all the ones on the West Coast and Alaska, the ones that are in Australia, of course, you might be able to catch OIDA, which does programs around Ghana, Africa. And then we have some content providers in the Middle East. So, yeah, just do a search on our website and see where these people are. And we're not talking about just content providers. You may be able to get some teachers interested in your programs that are located in, say, the West Coast or Hawaii or Alaska. So, yeah, check it out.
Now, Lisa, thanks, Lisa, for rocking up. How do you work with different time zones? And I do know that this is a real thing. And are these programs pre-recorded as well as delivered live?
So remember, the second letter of our name is interactive. So we can't do recorded so much. We do have a YouTube channel where we've been putting all of our community of learning recordings. So people can look at them there and see pre-recorded, but we pride ourselves in being live and interactive. And it's really hard when we've got folks in Asia Pac, because it's nighttime for you when it's daytime for us. So Ben and Karen have gotten up before light a few times to provide their programs to our members, and we really appreciate that. But hey, we've also got classrooms in India spending the night at school so that they can do some of these programs from CILC. So yeah, you got to be really flexible with the time zones to be interactive.
100%. Now, one good thing as a content provider, you will receive a notification from a school or a library or even a retirement centre saying they want to do a certain time. But as long as you've got your profile set up for your particular time zone, that will come to you in your times. And so what you can also do is you can also set the your profile saying, I will not do between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. Hey, you're cool. Karen and I have, but you don't have to. And so it means that you're not going to be spending that time shuffling emails back and forth when you could easily have just set that up from the beginning. One thing to be aware of is it's well worth, I've just put a link in there. I actually use a time date converter to send to people just in case something's up. Going, I'm thinking June 25, you're thinking June 24. These are the times. Is this what we're really doing? Especially when you think about the nomenclature, day, month, year versus month, day, year. They are different with North America versus Australia.
Yeah, can get pretty tricky. So yeah, I use the world clock before I do anything with Australia. So any more questions, guys?
Yes, Lisa. Yes, we've been caught out as well. It does happen. It happens to the best of us. But I mean, that link I've just sent there is completely free. And I have it as a bookmark at the top of my bookmarks bar. It's that important to me. It's like third across. Karen.
Yes, I just wanted to add to that as well. The time zones can be quite challenging, and often, trying to put something in your calendar that is the day before for your North American participants, but the morning of. But it is really, really rewarding. I have to say, I do try to do mine early morning as opposed to 1 o'clock in the morning. So I have some boundaries of when I'm willing to get up. But I've done a few 4 a.m. and 5 a.m.s. And yeah, it's a really amazing way to start the day. You think, I'll go back to bed. No, too buzzed, too exciting to have these amazing opportunities to engage with kids on, all around the world. So if you haven't thought of it before and you do have the opportunity to be a bit flexible with what time you get up, then it's definitely worth looking into it as well.
One thing I will throw there as well, which is a small thing, but it does matter, is different ways that your calendars are set up. So if your calendar automatically sends out hey, we're connecting you at 1 p.m., can't wait to visit you, that'll send a 1 p.m. to them, and they'll think 1 p.m. their time, New York, and that causes all sorts of drama. So it's important to get that stuff right.
So there was another question. Let me answer that real quickly. And I've put a contact in there for anybody that's interested in getting on CILC. Contact Tammy. How do you make sure the quality of your program is consistent? We do that through those evaluations. So every program that goes on that is booked through our website is followed up with an evaluation email to that educator. We take that, we keep it, we tabulate it so that we've got all that data on all the programs. When you see that star and thumbs up, that means it's recommended for other educators by an educator. So yeah, those evaluations are the key to CILC and a successful and happy relationship with our members, which are mainly teachers. You know, if you see somebody got the Pinnacle Award, you probably can guess that all their programs are going to be outstanding. So yeah, those evaluations are what make us.
Now, someone who knows a lot about this is Julie Spencer, who's put their hand up. Hi, Julie.
G'day, how are you all? Lovely to see some familiar faces. I just wanted to mention something about the time zones because we do a lot of our conferences at 8 o'clock in the morning, but we sometimes suggest to people, like, is there an opportunity for you to have an evening and after school event where you can also invite parents to come and watch the presentations, etc. So sometimes that's another option in terms of timings, and some teachers are flexible to that, especially if it's going to be a wow factor type presentation, and kids might join in an auditorium and bring their teddy bears and have their parents sitting behind them. So I just wanted to mention that as a thought process.
Reef HQ is definitely a wow experience.
Yes, it's been fun. We love going to the States, actually. It's always amazing. We say, we're talking to you from underwater, how many thousands of miles away. It's great fun. And they love our accent. Well, you love our accents too. So even saying things like g'day and some of the lingo is interesting. And, just sharing culture is always fun as well. But this is really great. I'm so happy to join. And my other question was in terms of, if you don't mind me hogging, in terms of actually joining the professional development sort of networks, do you have to be a content provider on CILC to access those types of things?
No, you're welcome to come, although it will probably be at a bad time of day for you. It's like, Ben, what's 4 o'clock our time?
Depends if it's winter or summer. But 4 o'clock can be 6 a.m. Sometimes it's 8 a.m. It's all over the place.
So between 6 and 8 a.m., Julie, come on. I will put you on the list. In fact, I'll get Ben to share the next invite with the whole group.
Yeah, we'll do that through the Virtual Excursions Australia email for sure. That's easy to do.
That would be great. We're actually doing a program logic, looking at where we're heading in the next 3-4 years. Now that I've got a bit of time to stop and think, but I can stay here. I'm on Maggie Island today, so I'm happy to get up early and just hang out early rather than going into work and join these types of things. That's great.
One thing. It's funny how you have the same reason. Sorry, Julie. One thing that is actually quite powerful is that network, the Pinnacle Education Collaborative has a Slack channel. And what that means is that there's that, the word that people don't like, but it's asynchronous. But you can constantly be speaking with people all over the globe about, hey, I need this camera or whatever. I mean, Virtual Excursions Australia exists for exactly this purpose. But if you want to broaden your network into all sorts of providers around the place, I mean, in a lot of ways, CILC and Virtual Excursions Australia are very much sister organisations in their own little way. But any other questions for Jan, or any other thoughts, Jan, while we're waiting for other questions?
I don't know, Lisa. We'll have to ask the organizer. So we have 3 content providers that take turns leading the group each year. So they're the boss, not CILC, but I can check with them about the Slack. But we'd love to have you at a PEC meeting, you guys. I think you would really enjoy it. And I know that our folks would enjoy those Australian accents as well. All right, I'm going to head off, Ben.
Thank you so much, Jan. Karen, before you go, Jan, Karen's got a quick question.
Hi, Jan. Just before you head off, I am interested in if you've got a highlight over the last maybe couple of years, if there's sort of a standout of something, because a lot of the people here may be new providers. So maybe, a couple of standouts of, either programs that you thought were really amazing, the engaging, or something just that was a little bit different, or something for one of the festivals. Put you on the spot. You can have more than one highlight, but it'd be lovely to get that perspective as well before you head off.
Okay, I'll tell you one that happened this year, though. Wasn't expecting it all. So one of our new content providers is a group of mermaids. You heard me right. So mermaids, or mer people, because some of them are men, from around the world. And they have a magazine called Fins Magazine. These are professional mermaids. And the organizer of the Fins Magazine is an old friend of mine, long story. But anyway, he said, let's do World Ocean Day. That was back in June. And I said, well, I'm game. And we matched up mermaids with museums and aquariums. The one closest to you happened to be in New Zealand. But there was like 6 mermaids through the day, and they talked about, different kinds of animals that were at the location where they were sitting in their mermaid tail and, all their jewels and such, doing a program about that animal and about man's impact on the environment and on the life of those animals. And it was really good stuff. But the surprising thing was that there was 36,000 students that signed up for this, and we weren't prepared for it. We were using like a Zoom webinar 500 seat, and, they were getting kicked out. So, World Ocean Day was a eye-opening experience for me, Karen, and next time we do it, I'm going to get like a 1,500 seat webinar or something, because there's, you never know what's going to flip a switch with people. And I guess mermaids do that. So that's my interesting story. It's the only one I can think of too. So don't ask me to do another one.
Look, thanks so much, especially considering that you are in Thanksgiving, and much appreciated. We're about to hit the holiday season is upon you. So look, thank you so much for hanging out with us, Jan. And what I'll do is I'll quickly put the link to CILC in the site on the chat. Please feel free to check out by the way, there's an entire research page. A lot of what CILC has been doing is nigh on 30 years is back in real research, and you'll find that there's a lot of journal articles.
Oh, here's another thing I should say, and I have to say this. My colleague Tammy Mooring and Allison Mitchell from University of Pennsylvania have written a book about all this stuff. It will be published around April or May, and it's for you. It's for museums and science centers and authors and artists on how to do virtual learning experiences. And that's what we're calling them, virtual learning experiences, not field trips or excursions. So anyway, that's going to be put out by a publisher in the UK. So I guess Ben can let you know when that is available. But, it's full of templates and forms and such to make your life a lot easier. So there you go.
Thanks so much, Jan. Much appreciated. Thank you for hanging out. And welcome to hang out in the background while you're making pumpkin pie or whatever it is that you're doing. But
roasting a lamb. The pumpkin pie is made. No, I'll let you guys in and have fun in your meeting. I'm out of here.
Much appreciated, Jan. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So there you go.
Bye.
Yeah. See you, Jan. Okay, so thanks so much. So yeah, we do have a bit of a session this morning. So moving through to another good friend of mine, Seth Fleischer, is from Global Banyan Learning. Kind of a friend of mine. We hung out very much. So not just also within CILC and at the Isti conferences. We actually before they disbanded the actual title, there were these professional learning networks, these PLNs, and one of them was here we go. Here's an acronym and a half. The International Society for Technology and Education's Interactive Video Conferencing Professional Learning Network, the Isti IVCPLN. Whoever came up with that was insane. But anyway, the whole point was that Seth and I have hung out talking about best practice, and with the 3,000 members of that Isti crew, it has changed a little bit, but definitely Seth knows a lot about how to engage people online. And I know that he's sort of keen for us to engage during his engagement online discussion. So Seth, I'll pass it across to you, mate.
Hey, no pressure, man. Apparently I have to engage as well. My goodness.
Yeah, I know. What's with that?
Yeah, I'm not sure who's spotlighting people, but Travis Moyer is here too. If you could also spotlight him, he's my colleague. He'll be presenting here today. As Ben mentioned, I've known Ben for a while now in all of these alphabet soupy kind of groups that we're in, and I also know Jan very well at CILC. We are huge fans of CILC. It is a great organization. It's done a lot for us for getting our programs out there. We are Pinnacle Award winners for the past few years, as I'm sure Ben is. For how many of those do you have, Ben? Like 10? Do you like put them on your mantle?
About 6 or so. It's Julie, actually, from Reef HQ, who's got the most down in Australia.
Oh, nice. Congratulations on all your success. We are pretty new to providing virtual programs outside of this one network of clients that we've had in Taiwan and China for the past 13 years. So a lot of the expertise that we bring is based on the work that we've done with them, but also with schools at large for the past couple of years. I'm going to share my screen, or actually, I guess, Travis, can I just use your background there? Do you want to just go forward there?
Sure. We can do that. Yeah. Well, let me do this. Yeah, go ahead. Let me start over here.
Okay. You're at that part. That's fine. Okay. We're gonna
go. You go, Seth.
All right. So we are Banyan Global Learning. We've been working again with Asia for the past 13 years. Taiwan and China. We've honed our expertise in those places. I'm going to do a massive share here. Can you guys all see my screen as in its full screen mode?
Yes, full screen mode's up.
Awesome. So we've been doing this program for a long time, and we've been training teachers to teach within our daily distance learning program. In addition to engaging with museums and training their educators on how to not only deliver content online, but also how to design lessons that optimize their technology, their content, and the expertise of their educators. That's where we come together and kind of push those three factors together into creating something that's optimized for the online setting. And if you are interested in that, please do let us know. So what are kind of the limitations here? People get bored in the online setting sometimes. There's this thing about eyes and just looking at a screen for too long. There's things with file dissemination and making sure that everybody is on the same page and engaged. And that's why we really focus our trainings on engagement and optimizing engagement for the digital world. People are kind of used to their screens, entertaining them, for lack of a better word, especially when people are in real life together, there's this kind of pressure to actually pay attention to each other. Whereas in the virtual space, I mean, how many of you guys honestly right now are actually looking at your screen versus just kind of listening to me, and maybe you have another browser up? And I invite you to come back and look at this presentation, which is to say that we have an extra added pressure of really working hard to engage our learners online. So when we do that, we think about two things. One of them is TITAC. And I don't know if everybody has their mics off right now. Can I get everyone to say TITAC? Everyone, can you guys say TITAC?
TITAC.
That's right. We are talking about TITAC today. And within TITAC is some online lesson design. That's where we really shine in terms of consultations with people. But when we're talking to big groups of people like this, we talk about TITAC. And what are we talking about when we talk about TITAC? We're talking about the teacher, the interaction, the technology, the aesthetics, and the collaboration. That's what we consider to be the linchpins of a positive, engaging online educational experience. And I want Jackie Cow, I don't know you, but you look like you can read a sentence for me out loud in an expressive sort of way. So I'm gonna call on you. Do you think you could read the T? What do we mean when we're talking about the teacher?
The teacher is effective and highly engaging.
That is so true. How did you know that? Oh, it's right. You read it. It's right there. Thank you. Yeah, effective and highly engaging. And different people mean different things by this. We, in our trainings, go into much more detail about what exactly we mean by this. But essentially, all those things that you do in the classroom to be effective anyway, many of those things translate to the online space. Don't forget who you are and bring your best teacher self to the online platform. And I want to call on Karen now. Hi, Karen. When we say interaction, what do we mean?
Meaningful interaction is central to design.
Central to the design. Okay. So this is not just like, oh, let's just toss a little question here because it's time for a question, right? Like it's not, and when you think about like Bloom's taxonomy and some of the like higher order questioning, like these are the types of things that we want to build in, not just to the experience, but to the design itself, right? Like, what are we trying to teach and how can the interaction that we build into the lesson help us reach that lesson objective, not just like fill empty space, right? We also talk about technology. The SAMR model is a really good one for this, making sure that we are using it to drive the learning goals, aesthetics, good lighting, good framing, all that kind of stuff. And collaboration. Oftentimes there's multiple stakeholders on the call. You need to have a good line of communication between those stakeholders. Now you could have, I don't even know what is that, Travis? You made this slideshow. Is that Jurassic Park?
Guys, I'm a science teacher and I'm a Jurassic Park baby. So it reminded me of Jurassic Park. So I think like I see some museums. I used to work in a pathology lab. I saw like a pathology sign in there. So yeah, I was thinking this is like your museum. You guys have like awesome content. You're growing dinosaurs, something like that.
Wow. Can I get a show of hands? Who's growing dinosaurs in their museum?
If you are, we need to go on that trip. I want to go on that.
And obviously we want it to be a super engaging time, right? So we think about edutainment, we think about teaching and entertaining. And we don't really say that flippantly. We do think that the entertainment value is important in the online space because of what people expect from their screens and because of the extra amount of work that you need to do to keep people engaged. Oh, I saw you. You guys are looking at other browsers again. Come back to my screen, please. Thank you very much. Nice to see you. Two keys to edutainment. We're talking about variety and we're talking about interaction, right? So anything that you do in the classroom, you have like 5 minutes before you lose your kids. Think of it as 2 minutes online, right? Like pacing, it's got to be like snappy and shifting from one input to another. I've already been talking too long. I'm losing you. That's why you were at that other browser. I get it. That's why I'm bantering with Travis here a little bit and Jackie and Karen to kind of mix up the audio inputs. And I just want to say, hey, Ben, to what extent is your stuff organic and off script? Do you include that the banter into the physics education?
I'm not even sure what a script is anymore.
That is a great answer. So you want to, not only when you're delivering it, but also when you're planning it, never take too much time doing one thing. And then with the interaction, you think about Bloom, integrate technology where possible. Free apps are really good for this kind of stuff. Although obviously you want to, talk to your clients, your classrooms that you're working with, and make sure that what you are planning to do is going to work for them. That's one of the things we do beforehand is have a call or at least an email interaction with anybody that we are providing content to, so that we are on the same page in terms of the tech that we can use and a lot of the other little class management things, stuff like that. So we're actually going to demo for you guys a field trip today. Teacher Travis is going to take this. I'm going to stop share and I'm going to, I guess, Jackie, I think you're in charge. I don't know why, but can you unpin me? And we're going to have Travis go. Travis, go.
All right. Hello, guys. You didn't know that you were going on a field trip today or a live virtual experience, as we heard CILC calls them as well. So we're going to do that today. It's going to be brief, but as you're watching, keep in mind the things that Seth just talked about in terms of variety and interaction. And you can see kind of what we do. What you'll see before I begin, we do our trips with more than one teacher. When we use technology, it usually requires a teacher like me sitting in an office, and then we have a teacher out in the field. And between the two of us, we can increase the banter. I can handle technology and any interaction, and then the field teacher can do their thing. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We are going to visit the Taiwanese night markets in Taipei, a place that I've been to many, many times. I love it. Seth has been there a lot. Our origins are in Taipei. So to do that, what we're going to do first is we're going to meet our teacher. So everyone, there is an agenda normally if this was a full trip, but we're going to skip and just talk about the night markets themselves. So we're going to use teacher Alex. He's going to be here with us. In this case, he recorded a little video, but everyone go ahead and say hi to teacher Alex right now, and then we'll have him introduce of where he's at in the night market. So here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taiwan. My name is Alex Bond, and I live and work here in Taipei. Monday to Friday, I work as a video producer for a tech company. And on the weekends, I like to explore and eat food, I'm sure, just like you. And I also make YouTube videos.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. Okay, just for the sake of time. So teacher Alex, he's there in Taipei. He's going to walk us through these night markets. And one of the things that's really cool about visiting the world and seeing the world with some of the trips that we do is the food, because food is like the heart of a culture, right? Think about the foods that you love in your own hometown. Well, obviously Taipei, the Taipei or the Taiwanese cuisine is very much central to their culture. So today we're talking about food. So teacher Alex is going to show us some food. But before we begin, I want you all to tell me right now, all right? And you could type in the chat, but we like to use some interactive apps. If you've never used Mentimeter, here's your first time. It's free, so it's easy to use for any institution, and there's no login required. So what I want you all to do right now is either use your phone, scan that QR code. Let me make sure my head's not in the way. Or you can go to menti.com and plug that code in. And I want you all to answer the question of what is like the most unique food that you've eaten. Teacher Seth, can you tell me?
I wonder,
what have you eaten?
Well, I just wonder if we're going to get some amazing answers, because most of the people here on this call are from Australia. Like, I imagine that's going to seem like weird to us being Americans, right? But maybe it's totally normal, and I don't know what to expect, honestly.
Yeah. This is something we talk with our students a lot about, right? That word unique, actually, I don't really like that, because it's not unique to anyone in Taipei. And, I have two young children. I have a 4- and 5-year-old. And, when we introduce them to other foods, we try to, use, it's not strange. It's not weird. Because, I think that's a little bit of, disrespectful to the culture. So hopefully you guys have done that. I'm going to continue forward here. And we're actually going to play a game. All right. So teacher Alex is walking through the night market right now and showing some of the shopping, but he's also found some interesting food items. All right. So I want you all right now to take a look at this picture, and I want you to try to guess. This is very delicious, and I will give lots of bonus points to anyone who can tell what this is. But for this, you can type in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and pop. You can unmute and turn your camera on. That'd be awesome. But you go ahead and just share it out loud or in the chat box. What do you guys think this is?
Why would it be cheating, Jackie?
Because I'm Taiwanese.
Ah! We didn't know we had an insider here.
Yes. Then if you could just keep the secret for a little bit. Do you like this food?
I didn't like it when I was a kid. I think it's okay now, but I didn't like it.
It's it's an acquired taste. So some of the answers coming in, we had insects. A lot of people said insects. They do eat insects in countries outside of America, in Asia and other places, but it's not insects. I've actually never seen insects eaten in Taiwan. Chili beef, I've seen meat for kebabs. So you guys are thinking some sort of protein. I like that a lot. I like that. Okay, so let's find out what this food is. Alex is going to tell us what it is. Here we go. Take a listen.
So we don't have the way in
explaining the concept. She talks us through certain things there, and she talks about her inside and about machines. And how about that? Spicy? Invite.
I'll lower the volume as they're cooking. So, you're walking around and you're actually just point at what you want. They'll chop it up for you. You choose the seasoning, and you can see right now they're mixing it up, and they're just going to drop it in a bag, and you just walk down the street, down the night market with it. You're not going to sit at any table and eat this. It's all kind of grab and go.
Okay, so we stopped by a barbecue place, and they sell this stuff here, which is like rice soaked in blood and then fried. And it's salty and it's delicious. And I asked for it spicy.
Did you guys catch that? I don't know if you heard what it said. It was rice soaked in blood. So it's pig's blood. And it's kind of like, it's gelatinous, kind of like black pudding, Lisa said. Yeah, a little bit. And there's peanuts on the outside, and they can put cilantro on it. And it's, pig's blood is used in a lot of food, actually. What's the hot pot? If anyone likes like shabu shabu, if you've had it in America, or hot pot in Taiwan, they get the gelatinous pig's blood is something that you can just get for free as much as you want. They'll just add it into the broth, and it's pretty. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Just to give people a little bit of a peek under the hood here, I noticed that the audio from the video that Travis was playing was not necessarily coming through there for a moment, and so I texted him, which is our pre-arranged back channel, that would not affect any of the communication that we were having with in front of you guys, and let him know that maybe the audio wasn't coming through, which allowed him to address that when he was talking about it with you guys.
Yeah, right. So there's a lot of technology. One of the T's in TITAC is technology. And you'll notice, even what I'm on right now is not just a normal Zoom, right? You can't just do this on a regular Zoom call. But what I'm using right now is OBS, that's the name of it. It's free software. Mentimeter, the answers that you guys gave me here behind me, is also free software. So, finding the right tech tool is an important key, to delivering, the best type of programming. And again, so here are your guys' answers. I love this. We got fruit bat, bamboo rat. Maybe we can do a little rhyming thing here. Bamboo rat. I've never heard of a bamboo rat. Let's see. Let's look at here's fruit bats. Let's see. I don't know who answered that. Whoever put fruit bat, do you want to come on here and tell us if it was good or not? I can't imagine eating bat, but that's the beauty of food, right? We can kind of eat whatever we want, and it probably is delicious. And maybe where you got that from. Who did that? Does anyone want to volunteer that they ate the fruit bat and tell us where it was? Oh, you're gonna be okay. All right. You can be shy about it. You don't want people to know that you had the fruit bat. But anyway, so again, here's an example. I think what we'll do here is kind of pause the field trip as time's about up. But what I want to go back and look at are the interaction and the variety that we talked about, and try to, I want you guys to tell us, did we do this just in this, I've been talking for about 4 or 5 minutes here. Did we do this variety? Did we do this interaction? Those 6 things that were there. And so if you want, you can go back to Menti right now, and let me actually go to the next question here. And go ahead and you can give us a grade. So did we do that? I picked 4 items here from that list of about 6. And go ahead and tell us, do you think we did it or did we not do it? So go ahead right now. And the code is up above me as well. You guys can enter it. And you can see we got some averages here, a lot of 5s. Love it. Organic and off script is moving up. Okay, well, I appreciate that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think and I hope we did all this, right? I asked questions. I came back. I used Google search to pull up images from what people actually, typed in there. I had the pre-recorded video and, we could do a lot more in a longer period of time. But just wanted to give you a couple quick little insights on how we do our trips. And I hope you enjoyed that. So Teacher Seth, if you want to kind of, wrap it up here.
Yeah, thank you so much. We would love it. Travis, did you have a link, like a QR or Google form if people wanted to sign up for our newsletter?
If you can, wait, you can still hear me, right? It's this QR code. So you can either do the QR code in the corner of my screen, or you can go to our website. And at the bottom of BanyanGlobalLearning.com, there's a box to sign up for our newsletter.
Awesome. And I'm just going to copy my email into this chat box as well. We are happy to meet with you guys, answer questions. We do offer formal training, but we have some resources that are out there just for free on TITAC. Again, we consult with museums and how to optimize their content for the online space. So we would love to work with you guys and just to meet people in the space as well. With our newsletter, we talk a lot about how to deliver effective online educational programs, in addition to some of the things that we're really into, which include world culture, social and emotional learning, and digital citizenship. Those are kind of our three jams of our three branches of the banyan tree that we like to address with our virtual learning experiences. So thank you guys for being here today. Happy Thanksgiving. Does Australia have a Thanksgiving? Do they have like a harvest festival of some sorts?
Right. We sort of do, but not quite like this, no.
Like, what do you do? What do you do in the fall? What's like the big thing where like all the pumpkins are ready?
So the Black Friday sales. It's funny. It's about what we do. No, nothing as united as what you guys get up to. It's really cool what you do. But like, hey, I was wondering if we can push the French a little bit. And thank you, by the way, Travis and Seth. That was fantastic. I knew exactly what you guys were going to do. Pull out of the bag as usual. But before you guys run, I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some people who would love to interact. Seeing we're talking about interaction. Why not? What would anyone like to know at this point? Certainly for modeling techniques, so Lisa just asked straight away, do you target a specific age group for education? Do you cover university lectures as well as school?
Yeah, I think that's something that Jan from CILC would tell you, is that in America, at least the great majority of virtual programs are done in K through 6. And so a lot of our programming does target that age group, but we are very adaptable, and we have expertise across the age groups within our staff. And so anything that a school wants, if we have it available for one age group, we can adapt it for an older or younger age group. We tend to, with the older kids, get into more like discussion-based stuff, some like more kind of gray area, tricky issues, not necessarily like teaching them things, but more like providing questions, thoughtful questions for them to answer. And with the younger kids, there's a lot more of that, like, hey, we're here on the screen doing the fun stuff. So you got to kind of do some of that stuff. Oh, I'm seeing more questions roll in. Sweet. Travis, how are you zooming in and out and moving yourself around on the screen?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mentioned OBS. That's the 3 letters, OBS. It's free software. It has a steep learning curve. But I'm using it just on one monitor. So when I ask about how many monitors, I just have one monitor, and basically you sort of can set up the scenes of your trip. And it could be like a window, a window or like a video feed, or another window, like another like PowerPoint, a video. And then as you kind of click in the OBS thing, it just moves to that next scene. And so, I can control, where my camera is, and there's a lot of advanced settings like, where you can like fade in. So you can see here, I'm fading into the next slide, different things like that, but it's all free. So OBS, check it out. It takes a little bit of learning and practice to use, but it's it's nothing but my Mac. I use my Mac and OBS. That's all I got. So.
It is. I'm a pretty proficient tech user, and it was challenging for me to set up. But once you get going with it, it's pretty straightforward. And it kind of mimics what some people use, like a TriCaster. That is a fancy hardware that you can get. It can get a little pricey, but essentially, if you had multiple cameras set up within a space, you could set it up within your TriCaster where you're like, option number 1 is picture in picture with my GoPro in the small corner and my HD camera from my laptop in the big camera, or in the big screen. And then you press number 2 and it's just the GoPro, and you press number 3 and it's your microscope camera. And so having that hardware like that can really help you address that pacing issue that we were talking about up top, that we think is super, super, super important.
Yeah, and just following up on that, right? I mean, like, you could use OBS for sign language. Absolutely. I mean, OBS can do everything that any paid hardware or software can do. It's just a little bit, like I said, it can be tricky to learn, but there are lots of YouTube videos that can walk you through it. And yeah, I've done trips where like I go out from so I'm actually at my home office right now. In my backyard, I have lots of plants, and we were doing a social emotional learning in the time of COVID, and we were doing gardening stuff. And I actually was able to like take this, and then I had my phone was connected to OBS just virtually, wirelessly. And then I basically switched my camera feed, started talking to my camera, and went outside to my backyard all seamlessly. And it's all through OBS. So you don't have to spend a lot for doing this stuff, but it really adds a lot of different dynamics and to a presentation if you can set that up.
Yeah, we got a question from Rachel about tips for making it interactive with a whole class at a time without individual devices. So this is also something that we do with our distance learning, our daily distance learning program that we deliver to Taiwan and China. And I would say that it becomes kind of the performance element, honestly, becomes like extra important when the students don't have devices to make sure that you continue to engage them. And then the collaboration piece, the C of TITAC. Everyone say TITAC.
TITAC.
There we go. The C of TITAC is collaboration, which gets into the communication that you have with the other stakeholders. So in that situation where there is a whole class, there's obviously a teacher in that classroom. So how do you coordinate with that teacher ahead of time to let them know what your cues are going to be to them so that they can kind of, parrot what you said and facilitate conversation amongst the kids? I would say that the basic tricks that work in a physical classroom, those are the types of things that are going to work for engagement when it's a class full of students and you don't have devices. Travis, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, a couple other things, just simple strategies is, use simple devices for, yes, you're going to be asking questions and, there's no microphone even, they can't talk. Make sure before the class starts, you tell the teacher, give each student, a red piece of paper and a green piece of paper. And so you can ask questions and say, okay, if, is the answer, is it this or this? Hold up green if you think it's this. So the whole class is holding up a green piece of paper. It's very easy for you to see. So little tips like that can go a long way. And of course, setting up free apps but ahead of time and after. So kind of building the interaction prior to the trip and after the trip can kind of supplement that if it's not actually happening during the trip. So tools like Flipgrid, if you haven't used that, that's another free tool to use. Padlet is another free tool where kids can interact beforehand and after, and that adds some interactivity if it's lacking during the trip.
And I would say, going back to the I of TITAC, everyone say TITAC.
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 Going back to the I of TITAC, you really have to think about what it is that you're asking them to do. Because if it's just a thing that you ask them to do at the end of this 5-minute segment because you were like, oh, it's time to ask a question now, then they're not going to be super engaged by that. But if you look at the purpose of your program, if you look at the learning goal and you're like, okay, well, how am I going to build toward this learning goal in a way that will keep the students engaged because there is a purpose to their engagement with the program, right? So one thing we try to do is create a narrative arc to some of our programs. We've got one that's like a murder mystery. It's actually down in New Zealand. Am I allowed to say New Zealand?
You are.
Okay. It's a murder mystery that takes place in Queensland. This teacher's backyard has been murdered. Basically just torn apart. She doesn't know what did it. She's going on the search for the perpetrator, and through process of elimination figures out that it was this one bird, the Kia parrot, the only alpine parrot in the world that is the official bird of New Zealand or whatever. So when the students are interacting as they go throughout that trip, it's all toward this central question of who destroyed this teacher's backyard. Right. And so when you create an essential problem that the students actually care about, then the interaction along the way is going to, by default, be engaging because they want to be able to engage with that problem.
No.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it reminded me, sorry, my wife is having a meeting right now as well, guys. This is the time of COVID. Hopefully you can hear me. What I was going to say, our other trip in New Zealand, it reminded me, I was talking about the colored paper for interaction, just printouts, matter a lot too. So that we have a separate trip in New Zealand going through Queenstown, and we use a map that we print out, very kid-friendly looking map. And the teacher goes around the locations around the town and uses, clues for students to write down where she is. And it's just on a piece of paper. So they're not directly interacting, but they're still doing something physical, while the trip's happening.
Excellent. We got a question from Naomi about a web listing to our trainings. We have what I'm putting in the chat right here. There's a little 11-minute video there that kind of goes over a lot of this TITAC stuff, some information, and then basically it's a matter of reaching out to us to see what you guys need and how we can adjust our offerings based on your need. We're currently working with a museum that has 20 educators on staff. So it's a pretty big staff, but we can, we're adaptable. We're still a fairly small company. And so we can meet the needs of your staff and your expertise and your content. Again, the idea is that we take all of those things, we look at all of it holistically, and we figure out how to optimize it for the online setting. We're super happy that you can use some of those, Christine. Thanks so much for chiming in there. This has been a lot of fun. I love how active the chat is. Ben, I just really appreciate the the invitation to come and talk to these people. I just also might say that I just have huge respect for physics ed and what you guys do, and the engagement that you bring. And I feel like, seeing your approach to things, I'm like, yeah, we're doing it right because we do it like them.
No, we're just making stuff up as we go along. Thank you very much, Seth.
Hey, off script, that's part of it.
That's the point, isn't it? Exactly. And actually is really the heart of what Virtual Excursions Australia was about, because irrespective of the badges that we wear, look at us right now. We've got here 41 people on this call, representing roughly, give or take, 35, 40 odd organizations. Lots of impact, but it's just 41 people. So strip the badges away. We're just trying to work it out what is best practice, and we all got to share ideas. So look, thank you so much, Seth and Travis, for hanging out. I've got to ask you though, Thanksgiving. So Jan's cooking roast. What are you guys doing?
Well, I'm in charge of desserts, so I'm cooking a bomb-ass pumpkin pie. It's going to be great. I'm baking fresh pumpkins and using heavy whipping cream instead of sweetened condensed milk, which I think is going to be the key. Also Fife flour for the crust, which is like a rustic flour, which I'm really excited about. And then we have a tradition of making a new cookie every year. So I'm doing an oatmeal cookie this year. Very excited about. Last year was ginger. Very, very good. Little sad to see it go, but I got to move on. It's a tradition. We do something new. What about you, Travis?
Traditionally I'm with my parents. Their garage caught on fire not long ago, and it's a big mess. So now I'm going to be hosting both my parents and my in-law parents. And so we're doing a classic turkey, of course. The green bean casserole. There's always an argument over cranberry sauce. I'm buying the canned gelatinous jiggly stuff, not making it from scratch. The canned is the best. Looking forward to it. Thanks for asking, Ben. It's always a great day.
And also Austin suggested that we enjoy the football. And I just want to toss out there, I am going to be enjoying actual football. The Portland Timbers are in the playoffs for the Major League Soccer, and they're playing the first ever MLS game on Thanksgiving at 1:00 against the top seed Colorado Rapids. We're really pulling for our Timbers here. Go TFC.
That's awesome. And absolutely don't know anyone in Colorado right now. So here you go. We have to go for Portland. All love it. Look, thank you so much, guys. Much appreciated. Really, really love your work as always. And hope we can hang out again. And hey, some of us might meet you at one of the Isti conferences. You never know.
It'd be great.
Thanks, awesome. Sounds good. Oh, he said TFC. He meant Toronto FC. I thought it, because we say PTFC, Portland Timbers Football Club, but I thought
So good. Thank you very much, guys. And please, guys, just reach out to Banyan. That was Banyan Global Learning. They do a fantastic job. Been doing this for many, many years. All awesome. And yes, Jackie, I don't blame you for being. I feel like, considering that you've got a New Zealand background and you're from Taiwan as well, it's like, as I said in the back channel, Jackie, you've been targeted today by the boys. It's been good.
It's a common side effect of our programs. You leave hungry. We apologize.
Fantastic.
All right, guys.
Karen.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. That was amazing. And we are, apart from being a little bit hungry, everyone's going to have to wait a little while because we've got our next speaker coming up, Bonnie Tratt from the Distance and Rural Technologies Dart Learning, part of the Department of Education, New South Wales. For those of you that might not have met Bonnie before, she is absolutely one of the driving forces behind getting our programs out to the schools. So, and also helping support us get our programs sort of user ready. So Bonnie has, well, all of us have had an incredible year this year. And I really wanted to get some feedback from Bonnie about, mostly term 2, but really some of those learnings that we've had from 2021 with a lot of the students learning from home and how we can, look at that for 2022. So I'd like to hand over to you, Bonnie, and thank you so much for all of your support and for joining us here today.
Hi, everyone. Sometimes I think you must all be sick of hearing me speak because I seem to talk a lot. That was so good. I just really enjoyed listening to Seth and Travis talk, and hopefully everyone's picked things up. And that's what's great about Virtual Excursions Australia, the fact that, it is a place that we can share and we can all learn and everyone brings something different to the table. So that's great. And it was so nice to see Jan. Okay, what we learnt with the transition. Hello, I'm Bonnie Tratt, for those I haven't actually met before. I'm looking forward to meeting you all. We have lots to talk about. I think this was the first thing we should really all talk about. Term 3, starting with it, is we had a lot of exhausted people and a lot of people, the old necessity is the mother of all invention. A lot of us who'd been doing online stuff for a long time, what we found was we were inundated with people who hadn't been doing online learning. So it meant new content providers, it meant many, many new teachers, all adapting, and of course the parent world as well sort of hit us up. So that was interesting to see. What I would like to talk about is the amount of productions and the amount of things that we were involved with to actually present. So I've asked the wonderful team, as you know, we've got myself and Jacob Nankerville. We've also been lucky enough to score some extra resources under Graham Grant and Jan Rizborzik from Environmental Education Centre, and they've really been helping with stuff. So a lot of the stuff I'm showing you is because they've been helping, as well as a lot of other people across Department of New South Wales Education. As you can see, it's been a massive term from term 3 to term 4, as everyone has also noticed. The things I would like to talk to you about today was, even as Karen mentioned, the statistics and things that we have, the before COVID and after COVID look, what has been the most popular types of events, so the live or on-demand stuff, what we've learned about the audience and how that's going to move forward into 2022, bit more on collaboration, which I think Jan and Seth and Travis and everyone else has talked about too, but that's really a great area for growth. The delivery, which as well has been touched on already, and a bit of Q&A if there's anything to talk about there. So the big statistics was pretty much before COVID, our annual student registrations were about 100,000 a year, and that was a good year. In term 3, our weekly student registrations were over 100,000. So it was massive. We had over 1 million register for the term. And a lot of people were like, oh, that probably didn't happen. And we did find that, a teacher would register their whole class of 30. Whether that 30 turned up or didn't turn up, we don't actually know. But that's the kind of registrations we were getting. Those of you who were involved in that time, and as Karen has already touched on, it was a pretty amazing time. Whether we get that again, who knows? But we had rooms on Zoom for 10,000. They were booking out, like they were flowing over onto YouTube. We just had to sort of have that available because we didn't have enough places for people to attend from. So it was absolutely massive. The fact that we're now in term 4, so everyone's back at school, it's 11-week term, and these figures were from the end of week 7. We have had 220,000 book in for this term, which is still really big. We think that's fantastic. And what that means is there's retention there. So that's really important. So next year, we're imagining there'll be an increase on the term 4 numbers that we're currently seeing. The other thing I want to point out with these figures is this is only from the content providers who use our booking system. So as you know, one of the things we try to do on our website is make sure that it's flexible, make sure that it works in with what content providers, like if you have your own booking system, you can use that. If you have a payment system you want to use, you can use that. If you want to put a link in, you can use that. We've got two roles we look at learning, and that is to find quality content for our teachers and to find an audience for our content providers. So we want to make sure that that's as seamless as possible for those two audiences. Okay. Our website weekly page views before COVID was about 20,000 a week. In term 3, we were having 375,000 a week. And yes, I think maybe everyone's website's broken a bit, but this kind of aligned really nicely for us because can you say that about COVID? Anyway, being online, the fact that we'd gone through a rebranding, the fact that we'd launched our new website, it was all kind of in a good spot. We just had to throw a little bit more money at it to make sure we could cope with all the traffic. At the moment, we're still having about 160,000 page views weekly. So that's been term 4. So that's been really great. And I think there'll be a bit more of an increase as we get more and more content providers and as we get more and more content and as the teachers get used to the way that they use the site and knowing that that's where everything kind of is. One area we've had a lot of growth is within the department. So that a teacher knows, because they're coming to our site to look for things, within the department they've worked out, okay, we need to get our stuff on there as well. So they're finding whether it's an external provider or an internal provider. So that's been really great as well. What else have we got here? Okay, annually we'd have about 1,050 events listed before COVID. This year, as of June, we've had 2,800 events listed. So that's gone up astronomically as well. And I still think this is a big area of growth due to the fact that one of the areas we kind of differ a bit from CLIC and a bit from what the boys were talking about is that we do have a lot of on-demand stuff and teachers really like it. So we'll talk about that a bit more too. And even the content providers are increasing. So we kind of had 70 before COVID. That took us about 15 years to get 70. And 109 was at the end of term 3. We're getting probably 2 to 3 new providers on there kind of weekly. So that is a steady growth to the point now that the website we've had to develop it so that if you have a presence on our website, we've had to make it apply a filter that allows teachers to see providers that have events listed, because sometimes we have events there, sometimes we don't. So that's been introduced just this week, actually. So, yeah, there's your comparative for before and after, and I'm sure you can all relate to that. So what has been the most popular types of events, the live or on-demand? And I did find this a bit interesting because I agree wholeheartedly with everyone that has talked before me, and that is that interactivity is really important. But the other thing that's really important is having something available to people. So they love the live ones, and we find the great thing with the live events is that generates the interest. It allows us to really sort of do a bit of marketing around that as well. But then leaving your events on or changing them to on-demand afterwards captures a much larger audience for you, because teachers can work it into whatever they've programmed. It might be a different time of the year that they need it. Secondary, of course, is always going to be better with on-demand stuff, because timetabling is impossible in those schools. So that's the other thing that we have learnt. So I guess what's the most popular? The live will get you the big audience. The on-demand one will be a constant trickle of people watching them. And then the by request ones, I still think that is huge as well, because teachers find you, and I often get surprised at how I'll see a booking for something. Oh, what's that event? Oh, that's been up there for a long time. And that's just them finding an event that's suiting them right now, and they've found that by request, so they can contact the content provider and book in a date and time that suits both you and them, and they get their interactivity that way. So there really is scope for both. So please do both. Most popular, the live ones always look like they are because they're the big productions and they're the big, grab ones. Okay, what we've learned about the audience. So when I talk about the audience, I really am talking about the teachers, as much as we had a lot of parents there doing homeschooling, but teachers are our audience. Throughout COVID, I think someone else touched on this, Karen, you may have as well, that you have had people book in from all over the country and overseas. We actually get the same. 70% is probably from New South Wales, with the other 30% being outside of New South Wales. So even during COVID, and, you know, because things spread wide and far, we had Western Australia schools who weren't even in lockdown booking into our things because they could get access to stuff. So that was really impressive. But yeah, definitely, obviously there was a huge insurge from Victoria, but that's quite common as well. And our home schools, that's large as well. So the audience is vast and wide. The other thing we're learning is there's a real hunger in this space for more content, for more things for them to integrate. We're currently looking at introducing preschool stuff because there's some demand around that. So that will be happening. And then post-school as well. So that careers area, TAFE, we've also had growth in that area. So that's been really good. The other thing is targeted. So a teacher is looking for pre and post events. They're looking for supportive documentation. They're looking for the edutainment part of it that Seth and Travis spoke on. Yes, it's got to be engaging because their students will disengage with them because they can't just hear the same voice all day, every day. So to hear that expert's voice is great, and then to build that their program around that, because it's all about time efficiency for them. The other thing we've learned from talking to teachers is that we're going to change the website a bit, where as a provider you'll throw things in like 150 words in an overview, and there'll be more detail behind that. So when they go looking at events, they can go scan, because as we know, nobody wants to read anything. So we're trying to change the way we do that so that will grab their attention quicker. That whole, you know, it's all of us are about innovation. We have to be in this space, but it's incremental, so that continually making those little changes and adding things and learning from each other is the way that we've got to keep moving forward. I think that's all I wanted to tell you about the audience. Oh, I think, you know, the hands-on activities, the different ways of doing that. I just loved what Seth and Travis were talking about. That was just so fantastic to get that expertise in there. So what they said. Collaboration. I don't know if any of you have seen this photo, but this was bringing Book Week together. That was Jacob's desk. He's very clever, and he sat there mixing everything, setting things up so he could pull in different cameras and then pumping it out as best we could. Anyway, he did a fantastic job, but it's one of those things where please don't get hit by a bus because you've got to sit there and do this. And he did such a great job, and there's been many other activities there now. And as I said, Graham does very similar stuff and has helped with other projects we've had along term 3 and term 4 as well. So collaboration, I just find there's so much scope in this area. We get a lot of the way that VA do it, where we look through the calendar for the year, and we look at events, and we pull in different content providers, and we can put on these special days. We've got one coming up with Creative Arts and Wellbeing, which has actually been led by and was instigated by someone within our Creative Arts Department, Department of Ed, New South Wales. They got Sydney Opera House and Sydney Theatre Company, Musica Viva and Studio A and teachers within the department, and have put together this particular day. So that's been fantastic. That's the leverage that you get from working on a collaboration. And as you all know, the Canberra event that we did in term 3, people still ask for it. So they're asking for, is it available online? And I think we decided no, because they're the sort of things when you get everyone involved. So we ended up with 9 different content providers. Some of them were on there on Dart Learning, some of them weren't. But afterwards, most of them were on there. Most of them were delivering content continually and having extra things there. But that week was a great way of getting leverage with that collaboration. So I know Karen spoke about that earlier as well. I think there's always room. And the first thing I often say to new content providers, if they haven't come through VA, is to get on to VA and become part of this network, because you learn so much all the time. We all do. So I really do plug Virtual Excursions Australia. You deserve it. Okay, lastly but not leastly is delivery, and how nice that we are have moved forward from the Polaroid and the Tamberg and Polycom era and software. Hooray! I swear that was a bit like pushing things uphill. For a long time, it allows so much more diversity in what we can deliver, the way we can deliver, the things you can do on your phone, the things teachers can do with their phones and devices. There's just so much more adaptability there that it's been great. So another reason for being in this group is finding out about those sorts of things. Definitely the whole AR and VR on their way, that if people have any news on that or ways to deliver that, I think we all need to keep abreast of it, as well as even things like podcasts. So, and I love the way someone mentioned that you can turn on, sign language with apps, and the fact when we were doing our Welcome to Country for a while, you can read it. It's really about including everyone, that inclusivity for everyone. The fact that Dart came from regional and remote areas is something where the equality for me is something that has always driven me in getting everything to everyone. So I love that we can do so much more of it this way. Okay, I think that's all I had. I always have a lot, sorry, a lot of words in my body. Really happy to hear any questions that anyone has. So...
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing those insights, Bonnie. It has been an incredible year and we've seen growth just across the whole board. So you can either pop your questions in the chat for us or raise your hand and you can ask it live. And we'll be following up from this as well in a lot of our discussions about, what 2022 might have. Ben.
I might just quickly ask Bonnie, where do you see Dart sitting in 5 years' time?
I will say one of the greatest things we've had is a lot of support within the department, and the nicest thing is, even though we are remote, that the connections we've made within the department, the support we've had, the fact that we had a strategy meeting earlier this year for 3 days to talk about the direction we can go. I'm hoping that there's a lot more room. So the department is really supportive of what we're doing and where we're going. It's been really great, actually, to get, and to also see the expertise across the department, where people have the skills and how we can all work together on that. So in 5 years' time, Ben, I don't know. If you'd asked me 12 months ago, I would have said, I don't know. How about you?
Sorry, good point. Where are we all going to be? I was just curious. It's great to see here the department's really backing you, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that is really important.
It really is. And even the fact that they allow us to do what we do outside of the department, because they understand that, our stakeholders and our team is not just the department, it is the content providers. So they understand that we are a little bit cowboyish when it comes to what the department's allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. So that's kind of nice.
We've got a question here from Christine. How can organisations become a provider with Dart?
Yeah, okay. Just send an email and it all starts happening. One of the things I usually say is, if you've already got online content, that's the best way to start with us. Like if you've got things online ready to be, ready for teachers to undertake and you're already marketing it, that's the best thing to do.
And Christine's just come off the back of some very successful programs. So I think, NRMA is definitely ready to go. So that's very exciting. And it's one of the things that we can help with Virtual Excursions Australia, your transition over to Dart as well. So, all of the people that are content providers with Virtual Excursions Australia have their programs listed on Dart Learning. And then, that's the transition to get that going.
Another question there I saw, Karen, was PD sessions, professional development team. Absolutely. And even based around some of the content. So the one that's coming up, the creative arts and wellbeing one, and I know the same happened for the Earth Science Day that was done earlier this term. Normally the programs are done and then there's PD at the end of the day to help teachers know how to deliver that and other things they can do. So, yes, it's a big area as well.
Does Dart Learning do teacher professional development directly in terms of getting teachers, knowing how to use the system and those kinds of things?
We have, as in how to use Dart Learning or how to use
A little bit of both, you know, how to sort of use the website, but also, you know, what might be available to them. Because as you said, I know that with most of the events that we're running, we usually do a PD at the end of the day on that topic, but just in terms of sort of that general, you know, teacher PD.
We have an organisation within the Department of Ed called STEM T4L, and they are a content provider as well, and they do a lot of fantastic things. They have on-demand stuff, and they run workshops. So, they do a lot of that sort of stuff. And I think NESA are also a content provider, so they're doing things as well. Yeah, lots of stuff. Thanks for asking, Karen.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions for Bonnie? I think you're going to be bombarded towards the end of the year and early next year, and we're certainly looking forward to working together on some of the Virtual Excursions Australia collaborations, and that's going to be very exciting. So do we have any other questions about maybe some of those insights or stats?
One other thing I would like to say is when you talk about that inundated, it is one of the areas that we're working on, definitely making that whole process for the provider easier. Because the idea is you use Dart Learning and you're self-sufficient at doing that. We obviously can help you, but with the amount of people that we have as content providers, the system is built to be as useful for you as it can be. So putting together a package so that providers understand what we do and how we can do it and how they can work it. So that is something that I've been lucky enough to get Jan and another fabulous teacher, Kath Olbach, working on. So they've been doing that for us at the moment, which is great. So that's coming. Always stuff coming.
Lots of thank yous as well coming through, Bonnie, from lots of people involved as well.
Fantastic speakers, Jan Zanetis, Seth Fleischer and Travis from Banyan Global Learning, as well as Bonnie Tratt hanging out with us from Darts. Thank you so much. Karen, we're thinking about next year, aren't we? That is the next thing we're talking about.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think we all should really take a deep breath, everyone with me, and just celebrate what we've been able to achieve, not only in 2021, but in 2020 as well, all across the education field, with both from the teacher's perspective and content providers. Both Ben and I are in incursion, on-site delivery, organisations, and a lot of us are here today in that same boat, or excursion providers. So people come to your site. That has just been turned on its head. We haven't had a sort of a normal year since 2019, and we are just hoping that 2022 brings back a little bit of, I'd like to say, structure, routine. What are the words you're looking for 2022, Ben? What are your hopes?
I believe sanity would be kind of good.
That is certainly a good one there. So a lot of us are also those digital providers and have been for some time. So it's not just that we want to continue with that digital learning, because a lot of us here have not only been able to see the benefits over the last 10 years or so, but really to see how we've been able to make real changes and real inroads in the last 2 years. With so many students learning from home, we not only gave teachers a break for something different, we gave students an opportunity to, go underwater scuba diving with me, or, have an experiment or an explosion, or learn about what's in their backyard. So many different opportunities just to give the kids something a bit different and to engage them. So we really want to continue with that momentum, and exactly what Bonnie showed us with some of those stats is, even though the students are back in the classroom, we are still seeing some really great, searches on Dart Learning with programs coming up in Term 4, and ready to kick it off in Term 1 in 2022. The kinds of programs we always look at running are linked to events. So from Virtual Excursions Australia's perspective, we look at something that we can collaborate with, that we can get content providers from lots of different areas, and we can help promote those programs. So the fact that the Dart Learning website now works really well with those tags, so you can tag events, has been a real game changer. So teachers can search across these tags. And if I just have a little look at my 2022 cheat sheet, I kind of use the teacher websites with the kinds of days that they would usually promote. And there are so many of them. I think there's something like 50. So we don't try to do 50. This year in 2021, we had 6 key events looking at, we did a high school showcase, which is always challenging, trying to schedule with high school. We did programs for C Week. The really big event that we had was, of course, for National Science Week. Earth Science Week, we're doing something next month for Coast Care Week. And I know I'm missing one, Ben. There was another event in there somewhere, Children's Week. But a lot of those were a little bit science-based because of the content providers we had involved at the time. So what we're looking at, again, is to spread things out throughout the year. So Sea Week is in March. And it's, we've had people involved over the years, not just looking at marine programs, but, exploration. We've had Maritime Museum. We've had State Library involved in those programs in the past. NAIDOC Week. We usually do that last week of term 2. This year, everything was a little bit all over the place, so we weren't able to promote and support that program. Science Week we usually do for the whole month of August because, especially if we're transitioning back to face-to-face programs, lots of providers are really busy during August. Any science provider always knows August is just mad month. So to spread that out for the digital programs, we try to do it over the whole month. Book Week is the last week of August, so we do want to try to promote something for Book Week this year as well. Earth Science Week is in October. That also links to things like there's Water Week and National Recycling Week all around that same time. And ClicFest is pretty much still on at the moment. And ClicFest we do in November, and it is a little bit of everything. But again, it's a time of year that we can just collaborate and pull all of those different ideas and topics together to try to promote them. And I think if Bonnie's still there, they really prefer, it helps if we have things tagged and hung under events because they can promote one thing in one go. And you'll see on the Dart Learning website as well that they've got a banner, so they can make an event banner. So it's one of those things with all of the content providers and people coming to the network meetings, you all have a say about what events you want to be involved in and also what events that you might help want to coordinate as well. So it's not necessarily just us. If there's someone that's like, I really want to do something for Shark Awareness Week, no problems. We'll help get you in contact with other presenters that may want to be involved in that and, off you go from there. So it's a little bit of a melting pot and a starting point. And certainly in the breakout rooms coming up, any ideas that you have about events and collaboration, this is the time that we want to hear about that. So we can really look at some innovative things for 2022. Bonnie's got a new one, a Global Money Week. Ooh. And so Financial Literacy Challenge. Oh, when's that, Bonnie?
That's going to be in March, and that's being put on by some people in the Department of Ed who are looking for some content provider stuff. So yeah, it's that, as you said, it's exactly that, finding ways that we can do it. So it might be things based around, I think they're looking at things like how much does it cost to own a pet and saving for your first car, and sort of looking at how we can possibly get a panel from various organisations to talk about maths related things.
Yeah, that sounds great. And these are exactly those kinds of ideas that come up. And also sometimes looking at an odd time of year. Term 1 can be sometimes challenging. Teachers aren't sometimes not ready to go on excursions or not ready to have people on site. So we do like to look at different times of year. So we love things in March because a lot of, we find a lot of our providers haven't ramped up to their really busy term 2 and term 3 programming. So yeah, and that's again why we like to do things like ClicFest in November. So, anything that you might be a low time for your organisation that you think, if we do an event on this, we can, do more things around it. If you are a museum or an organisation that maybe has a new exhibition opening, you may want to then think about doing an event around that, and you could actually get, a highlight of your new program, but we could actually then put lots of other content providers just to value add around that as well.
One thing I want to actually quickly add to this too is that just say if you're an art museum or whatever you are, often people think, we only do this one key learning area. It doesn't have to. Some of the most popular programs are the left field ones that no one would have possibly expected. For example, I'm thinking of International Pi Day. I know that Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences did a program on computer piracy. During National Science, we did Slime Day. Now, if you imagine all the science centers started doing slime stuff, and that was natural. But Historic Houses Trust, before it became City Living Museums, ran slime between the convicts' toes and what living conditions were like back in that time. So have a think about how do you make this slightly ajar from what you normally do, and you might find that your actual program numbers will go through the roof because you've created something pretty cool.
Absolutely. I think, when we do talk about collaboration, sometimes thinking outside the box is a great way to do it. So you might think, Science Week, I don't have anything that could go there. Well, think about the science of, your collection or the science of your organisation. There could be still connections that you might not automatically think of, but it could be a great engaging program for students, but also gives teachers the opportunity to know that you've got a bigger variety of content that they might not have searched for before. So sometimes we look at these events as purely a bit of a marketing opportunity to promote more about virtual excursions as a whole as well. And, the idea is promoting one event actually promotes virtual excursions as a whole, because you get one new teacher that might not have done anything before, and then they can see the value in it. They're going to share it back with their teacher networks, and they might then look at the next event, or they might then go back to your website to look at what else you have available, or to the Dart Learning website to go, oh, look, wow, there's so much stuff that I wasn't aware of. So we like to look at it from that perspective as well. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great conversation. And thanks to everyone involved. So, you guys should all be congratulating yourselves as well that we got through it and we've learnt so much. And I think that just means that 2022 is going to be a stellar year, hopefully both on-site and online.